The first egg hit Harold Watkins square in the chest. Yellow yolk splattered across his faded military jacket. The crowd roared with laughter. Someone shouted, "Get that crazy old fool off the stage." Another voice cut through the noise, "He's ruining the whole show." Harold stood frozen at the podium. His weathered hands gripped the microphone. The egg dripped down his chest onto his polished combat boots. I just wanted to say something about the P-51, he whispered. The boos grew louder. A teenager threw a plastic bottle. It bounced off Harold's shoulder. The airshow announcer rushed toward the stage, waving his arms. "Ladies and gentlemen, we apologize for this disruption," the announcer said, grabbing the microphone. "Security will escort this gentleman away." Harold's eyes swept the crowd. 10,000 faces stared back. Every single one showed disgust, contempt, rage. 2 security guards flanked him. One grabbed his elbow. "Come on, old man, time to go." Harold's legs shook as they led him away. The crowd's jeers followed him like thunder. A child pointed and laughed. A woman covered her eyes in embarrassment. The restored P-51 Mustang gleamed on the tarmac behind them. Its silver wings caught the morning sun. Harold glanced back once. His mouth moved silently, like he was trying to say goodbye. The incident went viral within hours. Delusional old man crashes airshow dominated social media. The video had 3 million views by sunset. Comments flooded in. "Who let this psycho on stage? Probably thinks he's a war hero or something. Mental illness is sad, but this is ridiculous." Harold's face became a meme. His shocked expression. When the egg hit, his trembling hands, his desperate eyes scanning the crowd for one friendly face. The airshow continued without him. F-16 screamed overhead. The Blue Angels performed their signature diamond formation. Families cheered and took selfies. Nobody mentioned the old man again. 3 days later, Captain Sarah Chun couldn't sleep. She'd been flying F-35s for 8 years. Combat missions over Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq. She'd seen things that made her wake up screaming. But something about that old man's eyes haunted her. Sarah lived in a small apartment near Edwards Air Force Base. Pictures of warbirds covered her walls. P-51s, P-47s, F-4F Wildcats. The planes her grandfather had told her stories about. She opened her laptop and watched the video again. The old man's jacket caught her attention. It looked military. Faded patches on the sleeves. A small pin on the collar. Sarah zoomed in. The pin was barely visible. A tiny silver aircraft. Wings spread wide. Her blood turned to ice. That wasn't just any pin. That was a P-51 Mustang. The kind they gave to fighter pilots in World War II. The kind they only gave to aces. Sarah's hands shook as she typed into her search bar, "Harold Watkins pilot World War II." The first result made her gasp. Harold Ghost Watkins, 352nd Fighter Group, minus 27 confirmed kills, missing in action. 1945. The newspaper article was from 1945. A black and white photo showed a young man in a flight suit. Cocky smile, dark eyes. The same eyes Sarah had seen at the airshow. But this man was 22 years old. Sharp jawline. Confident posture. The complete opposite of the trembling old man who'd been humiliated on stage. Sarah read the story 3 times. Second Lieutenant Harold Watkins had been shot down over Germany in March 1945. His P-51 had been found in a forest, burned beyond recognition. No body recovered. Listed as missing in action. But here was the impossible part. Harold Watkins had been declared dead in 1952. Sarah's mind raced. How could a dead man show up at an airshow? How could he be standing on that stage, talking about P-51s, wearing a pin that belonged to a ghost? She dug deeper. Military records, casualty reports, POW lists, Nothing. Harold "Ghost" Watkins had vanished from history. Until 3 days ago. Sarah found Harold living in a trailer park outside Riverside. The address came from the police report. Public intoxication. Disturbing the peace. The charges had been dropped, but the paperwork remained. Sarah parked her Honda Civic between 2 rusted mobile homes. Harold's trailer sat at the end of a dirt road, paint peeling. Windows covered with cardboard. A folding chair sat empty on the tiny porch. Sarah knocked on the door. No answer. She knocked again. "Mr. Watkins? My name is Captain Sarah Chun. I'm with the Air Force." The door opened 6 inches. Harold's face appeared in the gap. His eyes were bloodshot. 3 days of stubble covered his cheeks. "Air Force?" he whispered. "Yes, sir. I'd like to talk to you about your service record." Harold's eyes widened. He stepped back. "I don't have a service record. I'm nobody. Just a crazy old man who ruins air shows." "That's not true, sir. I know who you are." Harold's hand trembled on the door handle. "You don't know anything. I know you flew P-51s. I know you were with the 352nd Fighter Group. I know you were shot down over Germany." Harold's knees buckled. He grabbed the doorframe for support. "That's impossible. Harold Watkins died in 1945, but you're standing right here." Harold's eyes filled with tears. "No, I'm not. I died in that forest. I died with my plane. I died with my squadron." Sarah stepped closer. "Sir, I need to know what happened. I need to know how you survived." Harold looked at her for a long moment. Then he opened the door wide. Harold's trailer was a shrine to the dead. Photographs covered every surface. Black and white images of young men in flight suits, squadron patches, group photos. A bulletin board held newspaper clippings from 1945. "These are my boys," Harold said, pointing to a group photo. "The 352nd Fighter Group. We called ourselves the Blue-Nosed Bastards." Sarah studied the faces, all young, all confident, all dead. "Tell me what happened," Sarah said. Harold sat heavily in a recliner. The springs creaked. "March 15, 1945. We were escorting B-17s over Bavaria. My wingman was Jackie Torres. Kid from El Paso, 19 years old." Harold's voice cracked. "Messerschmitts. Came out of nowhere. Jackie took a hit. His engine was smoking. I should have stayed in formation. Should have kept escorting the bombers, but you didn't. I broke formation, followed Jackie down. He was going to crash in a field. I thought I could cover him. Thought I could protect him while he landed." Harold wiped his eyes. "More Messerschmitts showed up. They went after Jackie first. I watched his plane explode, watched him burn." Sarah waited. "Then they came for me. I was alone, no backup, no support. Just me and 3 German fighters." Harold looked at his hands. "I killed all 3 of them, but they got me too. My engine was shot to hell. I was losing altitude fast. You crashed in the forest. I crashed in the forest, but I didn't die. I crawled out of the wreckage, burned, broken, but alive." Harold stood up and walked to the window. "German patrol found me 3 days later. Took me to a POW camp. I was there for 2 months before the war ended. Why didn't you come home?" Harold turned around. His face was wet with tears. "Because I was a coward. Because I broke formation. Because Jackie Torres died because of me. That's not true. It is true. I was supposed to protect the bombers. That was my job. Instead, I chased after one plane and lost it anyway. The bombers were sitting ducks without escort. 2 of them got shot down. 20 men died because I wasn't there." Sarah felt her chest tighten. "So you disappeared." "I disappeared, changed my name, worked construction, lived in the shadows, let everyone think Harold Watkins was dead. Because Harold Watkins was dead. The man who came back from Germany wasn't the same person. Harold walked to a closet and pulled out a metal box. Inside were medals, silver stars, purple hearts, distinguished flying crosses. They sent these to my parents, he said. 27 confirmed kills. They called me an ace, a hero. He threw the medals on the table. They scattered like coins. Heroes don't get their wingmen killed. Heroes don't abandon their mission. Heroes don't hide for 70 years. Sarah picked up one of the medals. A distinguished flying cross. The inscription read, "For extraordinary heroism in aerial combat, Mr. Watkins. Harold. What you did at the Airshow. Why did you go?" Harold sat back down. "Because I'm dying, lung cancer. Doc says I have maybe 2 months. He looked at the photographs on the wall. I wanted to see a P-51 one more time. I wanted to tell people about my boys, about the 352nd, about what they did. But you couldn't get the words out. I never could. Every time I tried to talk about the war, I choked up. All I could think about was Jackie Torres burning in that field." Sarah studied the group photo again. 24 young faces. All proud. All ready to die for their country. How many of them made it home? 6 out of 24. "And you were supposed to be number 7. Harold nodded. "I was supposed to be number 7. Sarah made a phone call that night. Colonel Martinez was her commanding officer. A pilot himself. He'd flown A-10s in Desert Storm. He understood what it meant to lose people. "Sir, I need to tell you about Harold Watkins. The crazy old man from the Airshow." "Sarah, why are you—" "He's not crazy, sir. He's a ghost. A literal ghost. He's been dead for 70 years, but he's still walking around." Sarah told him everything. The service record, the medals, the 27 kills, the missing wingman, the decades of hiding. Colonel Martinez was quiet for a long time. 27 confirmed kills? Yes, sir. He was the 3rd highest scoring ace in the 352nd Fighter Group. And he's been living in a trailer park. Yes, sir. For the past 15 years. Jesus Christ. Sarah waited. "Sarah, I want you to bring him to the base. Tomorrow morning. Full honors." "Sir? We're going to fix this. We're going to fix all of it." Harold refused to come at first. "I'm not a hero," he said. "I'm a coward who got people killed." "Then why did you keep the medals?" Harold looked at the metal box. "Because they belong to the man I used to be. Before I screwed everything up." Sarah knelt beside his chair. "Mr. Watkins, what would Jackie Torres say if he could see you now?" Harold's eyes filled with tears. "He'd say I was an idiot. Jackie never held grudges. He'd probably laugh and call me a stubborn old fool. Would he want you to hide for the rest of your life?" Harold was quiet for a long moment. "No, Jackie would want me to stand up. Jackie would want me to honor the boys who didn't make it home. Then come with me." Harold looked at the photographs on the wall. "What if I choke up again? What if I can't get the words out? Then we'll help you, but you have to try." Harold stood up slowly. His legs were shaking. "Okay, but I'm not changing clothes. I'm going as Harold Watkins, not as some fake hero." "You're going as yourself. That's all anyone can ask." Edwards Air Force Base looked like a different world. Harold stared out the window as they drove through the gates. F-35s lined the runway. Mechanics worked on engines. Pilots walked between hangar buildings in flight suits. "It's bigger than I remember," Harold said. "You've been here before?" 1943. Basic training. I was 18 years old. Thought I was going to save the world. Sarah parked in front of base operations. A crowd had gathered, pilots, mechanics, ground crew, all standing at attention. Colonel Martinez stepped forward. "Mr. Watkins, welcome to Edwards Air Force Base." Harold climbed out of the car. His legs were still shaking. Colonel, I think there's been a mistake. I'm not your second Lieutenant Harold Watkins. 352nd Fighter Group. 27 confirmed kills. Distinguished Flying Cross, Silver Star, Purple Heart. Harold's eyes widened. How did you? Captain Chen did her homework. We all did. Colonel Martinez gestured to the crowd. These men and women know what you did. They know what you sacrificed. Harold looked at the faces surrounding him, young pilots, old veterans, all watching him with respect. I broke formation, Harold whispered. I got people killed. You saved lives, Colonel Martinez said. The mission reports are clear. You destroyed 3 enemy fighters that were hunting our bombers. You prevented a massacre. Harold's knees buckled. Sarah caught his arm. That's not, the report said ... The report said you were a hero. The report said you gave everything for your country. The report said you died defending your brothers. Harold began to cry. But Jackie ... Jackie Torres. Second Lieutenant Torres died in combat. He wasn't your fault. He was a casualty of war. Colonel Martinez handed Harold a folder. These are letters from the families of the men you saved. Bomber crews, pilots, gunners, they all wrote to thank you. They all wanted to meet the man who kept their husbands and sons alive. Harold opened the folder with trembling hands. Dozens of letters, all addressed to the ghost of the 352nd. Dear Lieutenant Watkins, my husband made it home because of you ... Dear sir, you saved my boy's life over Germany ... Dear hero, we will never forget what you did. Harold collapsed into a chair, the letters scattered around him like snow. Why didn't anyone tell me? He sobbed. Why didn't anyone tell me I wasn't a failure? Because you disappeared, Sarah said. Because you hid from the world. Because you never gave us a chance. The ceremony began at sunset. Harold stood on the same stage where he'd been humiliated 3 days earlier. But this time the crowd was different. Military personnel, veterans, families who'd lost loved ones in combat. No one threw eggs. No one booed. No one laughed. Colonel Martinez spoke first. Ladies and gentlemen, we gather tonight to honor a man who has been missing for 70 years. A man who gave his life for his country, even though he survived the war. Harold gripped the podium. His hands were steady now. I wanted to tell you about my boys. About the 352nd Fighter Group. About what they did. His voice was clear, strong, the voice of a 22-year-old fighter pilot. They called us the blue-nosed bastards. We painted our planes with blue noses so the enemy would know who was coming. We weren't the biggest squadron. We weren't the most famous. But we were fighters. Harold looked out at the crowd. Jackie Torres was 19. Billy Martinez was 20. Tommy Johnson was 21. They died so you could live free. They died so you could stand here tonight and remember them. The crowd was silent. Even the children stopped fidgeting. I've been hiding from their memory for 70 years. I've been running from the truth. But tonight, I want to tell you the truth. Harold's voice rose. They were heroes. All of them. Every single one of my boys was a hero. And I was proud to fly with them. I was proud to fight beside them. I was proud to call them my brothers. The crowd erupted in applause. Harold smiled for the first time in decades. The war ended 70 years ago, but the memory lives on. The sacrifice lives on. The courage lives on. Harold looked at the restored P-51 on the tarmac. This airplane represents more than metal and engines. It represents the spirit of young men who gave everything for freedom. It represents the price of liberty. He wiped his eyes. I'm not asking you to remember me. I'm asking you to remember them. Remember the 352nd Fighter Group. Remember the blue-nosed bastards. Remember the boys who didn't make it home. The applause went on for 5 minutes. Harold stood at the podium, tears streaming down his face. Finally at peace. Harold died 6 weeks later. The funeral was held at Arlington National Cemetery. Full military honors. Honor Guard, 21-gun salute. A folded flag presented to the family he'd never had. The headstone read, Harold "Ghost" Watkins, 2nd Lieutenant, United States Army Air Forces, 1923 to 2024, 352nd Fighter Group, 27 confirmed kills, finally home. Sarah stood at the graveside long after the ceremony ended. The sun was setting. The air was still. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for showing me what courage really means." A gentle breeze stirred the flowers on the grave. Somewhere in the distance, a jet engine roared to life. Harold Watkins was finally free. The video from the Airshow was still online. 3 million views. But now the comments were different. This man was a hero. We should have listened. I'm ashamed of how we treated him. Rest in peace, Ghost. You earned it. The restored P-51 was renamed Jackie's Revenge in honor of Harold's wingman. It flew at air shows across the country, telling the story of the 352nd Fighter Group. Sarah kept Harold's medals on her desk, a reminder that heroes don't always look like heroes. Sometimes they look like broken old men who've been carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders. Sometimes they look like ghosts. Sometimes they are ghosts. But they're still heroes.